Ambassador Quan Tai Min stood at the viewing window of the space station, watching the alien ships approach Earth. The vessels looked like floating crystals, smooth and bright against the black space. No weapons were visible on their hulls. No armor plating, no defensive shields that he could see. The ships moved slowly, almost like they were dancing through space. "They're beautiful," said Dr. Lee Sora, standing beside him. She held a tablet filled with notes about alien biology. "Look how peaceful they seem." Quan nodded but kept his hand near his communication device. Captain Park Do-hyun had 3 human warships hidden behind the moon just in case. Old habits never died. The lead alien ship sent a message in perfect Korean. The voice was soft and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater galaxy." "How did they learn our language so fast?" Lee Sora whispered. "They've been listening to our radio signals for 60 years, Quan replied. "They probably know more about our TV shows than our own children do." The alien ship docked with the space station. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 beings floated inside. They looked like tall, thin trees with silver bark and glowing blue leaves for hair. Their movements were graceful and slow. No sudden motions. No aggressive postures. The first alien approached Quan. Its voice came from somewhere inside its chest. "I am Velthari, speaker for the Confederation Council. You are Ambassador Quan?" "I am. Welcome to human space." Quan bowed slightly, the way his grandfather had taught him to show respect. Velthari tilted its head. "Space belongs to all beings. We do not claim ownership of the void between stars." An awkward silence filled the room. Quan glanced at Dr. Lee. She shrugged. The second alien stepped forward. "I am Quintel. I study cultures and societies. We are excited to learn about human civilization." "We're happy to share," Dr. Lee said. "Where would you like to start?" "Perhaps with your history. How did humans develop? What shaped your society?" Quan felt a small warning bell in his mind. These questions seemed innocent, but his military training made him careful. "Our history is long and complex. What specifically interests you?" Quintel's blue leaves rustled. "We want to understand how humans learned to work together. All species in the Confederation evolved through cooperation. We assume humans did the same." Dr. Lee opened her tablet. "Well, cooperation was important, but so was competition. We had to survive in a dangerous environment." "Dangerous?" The third alien, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. "What was dangerous about your world?" "Oh, many things. Predators, natural disasters, climate changes, diseases." Dr. Lee began listing them casually. The aliens exchanged glances. Their leaves changed from blue to a worried purple color. "Predators?" Velthari asked slowly. "You mean other intelligent species attacked you?" No, Quan laughed. "Wild animals. Bears, tigers, sharks. Things that wanted to eat us." The silence that followed was deafening. The aliens stared at the humans like they had just confessed to murder. "Your world had creatures that consumed other living beings?" Quintel's voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Lee looked confused. "Yes, of course." "Didn't your worlds have carnivores?" "Carnivores?" Velthari repeated the word like it tasted bad. We do not understand this concept." Quan felt the conversation sliding into dangerous territory. "Perhaps we should start with something simpler. Tell us about your worlds." "Our worlds are gardens," the third alien said. "All beings live in harmony. Plants provide everything we need. The weather is always perfect. No creature harms another." "That sounds wonderful," Dr. Lee said. "Earth wasn't like that. We had to build shelters, find food, defend ourselves from wild animals and harsh weather." "Defend?" Velthari's leaves turned darker purple. "You engaged in violence?" "Sometimes we had no choice," Quan said carefully. "If a predator attacked our families, we had to fight back or die." The aliens stepped back as if Quan had pulled out a weapon. Their leaves were now almost black. "You killed other living beings?" Quintel asked. "Only when necessary for survival," Dr. Lee said. "We're not monsters. We just learned to protect ourselves." "Monsters?" Velthari repeated softly. "What are monsters?" Quan realized they had made a terrible mistake. These aliens had never faced danger in their entire evolutionary history. They couldn't understand concepts that humans took for granted. "Monsters are just scary stories we tell children," he said quickly. Not real things, but Quintel was already taking notes. "Scary stories? You frighten your young ones for entertainment?" "It's more complicated than that," Dr. Lee said. The stories teach lessons about courage and wisdom. Courage? The third alien asked. What is courage? Quan's communication device buzzed. Captain Park was asking for a status update. The hidden warships were still waiting behind the moon. Courage is when you do the right thing even when you're afraid, Quan explained. Afraid of what? Velthari asked. Pain. Death. Losing people you care about. The aliens huddled together, whispering in their musical language. Their leaves had turned completely black now. Finally, Velthari spoke again. We need to understand more about human development. Would you be willing to show us your historical records? Quan hesitated. Human history was full of wars, disasters, and violence. These peaceful beings would be horrified by stories of the world wars, the plague, or even simple hunting practices. Our history might be disturbing to your people, he said carefully. We are scientists, Quintel said. We can handle difficult truths, Dr. Lee smiled. Of course, we'd be happy to share our story. As the aliens left to return to their ship, Quan watched them go with growing unease. They moved like beings who had never known fear, never faced hardship, never had to fight for anything in their entire lives. He activated his communication device. Captain Park, this is Quan. We might have a problem. What kind of problem, Ambassador? Quan looked out at the alien ships, so beautiful and peaceful in the void. I think we just scared our new neighbors, and we haven't even told them the interesting parts of our history yet. The alien ships began to move away from the station, but Quan noticed something. They were moving faster now, and their formations had changed. They were grouping together like prey animals sensing a predator. Dr. Lee joined him at the window. Do you think we said something wrong? I think we said everything wrong, Quan replied. They think we're some kind of primitive savages, but we're not. We're civilized. We've moved beyond our violent past. Quan touched the emergency alert button on his belt, the one that would signal Captain Park if needed. Even in this peaceful meeting, he was ready for trouble. Even now, talking to friendly aliens, his mind was calculating escape routes and defensive positions. Have we really moved beyond it? He asked quietly. Or have we just gotten better at controlling it? The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying their disturbing news about humanity back to the Galactic Confederation. Quan had a feeling this was just the beginning of a very complicated relationship. Dr. Nam Jiwoo stood in the entrance of the cave, watching the alien research team set up their scanning equipment. The Lascaux caves in France held some of humanity's oldest art, and the Galactic Confederation wanted to see it for themselves. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and the aliens seemed determined to understand human history. The paintings are about 17,000 years old, Nam explained to the lead researcher, a tall blue creature called Zephyrian. Our ancestors drew these pictures of the animals they hunted. Zephyrian stopped moving. Hunted? You mean they pursued other living beings? For food, yes. And sometimes for protection. Nam pointed to a drawing of a massive bull. This auroch was dangerous. It could kill a human with one charge. The alien's translator made strange clicking sounds as it tried to process the word kill. Professor Yoon Haijin, the evolutionary biologist on the team, stepped forward to help. Perhaps we should explain the basic concept of predation, Yoon suggested. On Earth, some animals eat other animals to survive. But why? Asked another alien, this one shaped like a walking flower. Why not simply consume plants? Some animals can't digest plants, Yoon explained patiently. Their bodies are designed for meat. The aliens exchanged worried looks. Their skin colors shifted from calm blues to nervous yellows. Show us these. Hunting pictures, Zephyrian said finally. Nam led them deeper into the cave. The first chamber showed beautiful drawings of horses, deer, and bison. The alien seemed amazed by the artistic skill, but troubled by the subject matter. Your ancestors drew pictures of their prey? Council member Threndal asked. This alien looked like a giant sea anemone with dozens of delicate tentacles. Not just prey, Nam corrected. They drew the animals they respected and feared. Look here. He pointed to a drawing of a cave lion. This predator hunted humans, too. The alien stepped back as if the ancient drawing might leap off the wall. Something hunted your ancestors? Zephyrian's voice rose an octave. How did your species survive? We got smarter. We made tools. We learned to work together. Nam showed them drawings of humans with spears. We became better hunters than anything that hunted us. Professor Yoon pulled out her tablet. Let me show you how human evolution worked. We didn't develop in peaceful gardens like your species did. Earth was a battlefield. She displayed a timeline of human evolution: ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, mass extinctions. The aliens watched in growing horror as Yoon explained how each disaster had forced humans to adapt or die. Your world tried to kill your ancestors? Threndal's tentacles were shaking. Multiple times? The planet wasn't trying to kill us, Yoon laughed. It was just a dangerous place. We had to become tough to survive. Define tough, Zephyrian said quietly. Nam and Yoon exchanged glances. How do you explain toughness to beings who had never faced hardship? Strong, resilient, able to endure pain and keep going, Yoon tried. Pain? The flower-like alien wilted visibly. You experience pain regularly? Still do, Nam said. It's how we know when something is wrong with our bodies. The scanning equipment suddenly beeped. Zephyrian looked at the readings and made a sound like a broken flute. These walls, there are layers beneath the paintings. Much older layers? Yes, Nam nodded. Humans have been using this cave for over 40,000 years. Would you like to see what's underneath? The aliens activated deeper scanning modes. Slowly, older images appeared on their screens. Handprints, simple drawings, and then something that made all the aliens freeze. What are those marks? Threndal whispered. Nam looked at the scan results. Scratch marks covered the walls. Deep gouges in the stone. Claw marks, he said simply. From cave bears. This used to be their den. And humans chose to live here anyway? Zephyrian asked. They killed the bears first, Professor Yoon explained. Then they took over the cave. The aliens were now huddled together like frightened children. Their colors had shifted to deep purples and blacks. Perhaps we should visit some archaeological sites, Threndal suggested weakly, to better understand your development. 3 days later, the group stood in an excavation site in Kenya. Dr. Nam pointed to fossilized bones scattered across the dig. This is Olduvai Gorge. Some of the earliest human ancestors lived here 2 million years ago. The aliens scanned the ancient remains with their equipment. What they found made them step back in shock. These bones, they're broken, Zephyrian observed. Tool marks, Nam confirmed. Early humans cracked these bones to get at the marrow inside. They broke other creatures' bones? The flower aliens' petals were completely closed now. For the nutrients inside, yes, it helped our brains grow larger. Professor Yoon showed them more fossil evidence. Teeth marks on ancient human bones. Signs of healed injuries. Evidence of violence and predation going back millions of years. Your ancestors lived with constant danger, Threndal said slowly. How did they find time to develop culture and art? Danger forced us to develop culture, Yoon explained. We had to cooperate to survive. We had to be creative to solve problems. We had to be brave to protect our families. The aliens were quiet for a long time. Finally, Zephyrian spoke. We need to understand something. Are modern humans still dangerous? Nam chose his words carefully. We're not violent by choice anymore. But we remember how to be dangerous when we need to be. When would you need to be dangerous? Threndal asked. To protect the innocent. To defend against threats. To survive. Nam looked at the alien researchers. If something threatened your people, wouldn't you want someone capable of stopping it? The aliens looked at each other with what might have been fear. Our species have never faced external threats, Zephyrian admitted. We evolved on worlds without predators, without disasters, without competition. That sounds wonderful, Professor Yoon said, but it also sounds vulnerable. Vulnerable to what? Yoon gestured at the ancient bones around them. To anything that might want to hurt you. The galaxy is a big place. You can't know everything that's out there. As they prepared to leave the dig site, Council Member Threndal approached Nam privately. Dr. Nam, I must ask you something important. These capabilities that humans developed, this ability to be dangerous, do you still have them? Nam looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, human ships patrolled the edges of the solar system. Human soldiers trained for threats that hadn't been imagined yet. Human scientists designed weapons that could crack planets. Yes, he said quietly. We still have them, all humans. Every human learns basic survival skills. Every human knows how to defend themselves. It's part of our education. Threndal's tentacles drooped. Even your children? Especially our children. We teach them early so they can protect themselves and others. The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then, I think we need to see more of your history. All of it. Nam nodded but felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. The aliens were starting to understand what humanity really was. And they were terrified. As the research team returned to their ships, Nam heard them talking in their musical language. The tone was urgent now. Worried. They were learning that humans weren't just another peaceful species joining the galactic community. They were learning that humans were something else entirely. Something that had crawled out of hell and learned to smile. General Kim Sung-ho sat across from the alien delegation in the War Memorial Library. The room was filled with thousands of books about human conflicts. But he had carefully chosen only the most basic ones. Even so, the aliens looked nervous. Their translator devices hummed constantly, struggling with concepts they had never encountered. "You requested information about human conflicts," Kim said gently. "Where would you like to begin?" High Counselor Murthakis, a crystalline being that sparkled like a diamond, spoke first. "We understand that humans sometimes disagreed with each other. How did you resolve these disagreements?" Dr. Choi Yunbi, the sociologist, leaned forward. "Well, sometimes we talked and found solutions. But sometimes—" She paused, seeing the hopeful expressions on the alien faces. "Sometimes we fought." "Fought?" Another alien, shaped like a floating jellyfish, asked. "You mean physical contact?" "Yes, and sometimes with weapons." The silence that followed was deafening. Lieutenant Commander Bae Min-sik shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his dress uniform suddenly feeling too tight. "Weapons?" Murthakis's crystal body dimmed. "You created tools specifically for harming other humans?" General Kim opened one of the books to a picture of a simple sword. "This is one of our earliest weapons, made of metal designed for combat." The alien stared at the image like it was a picture of a monster. "You used metal tools to hurt your own kind?" The jellyfish alien's tentacles curled up in distress. "Not for fun," Dr. Choi said quickly. "Usually to protect something important. Families, homes, resources. But why not simply share resources?" Murthakis asked. "Why not cooperate?" "We tried," Kim explained. "But Earth had limited resources. Sometimes there wasn't enough food or water for everyone. Sometimes people had different ideas about how to live." He turned to a page showing a medieval battle. The aliens recoiled as if he had struck them. "These images, are they real?" The jellyfish being whispered. "Historical records, yes. This shows a battle from about 800 years ago." Lieutenant Commander Bae spoke up. "The general is showing you old history. Humans are much more civilized now." The aliens looked hopeful until Dr. Choi added, "Though we did have 2 global wars in the 20th century." "Global wars?" Murthakis's crystal form flickered rapidly. "Wars that covered your entire planet?" Kim realized he had made a mistake mentioning the world wars. "Perhaps we should start with something smaller." But the aliens were already pulling up their own records on their devices. "According to our monitoring of your radio signals," the jellyfish alien said slowly, "you have had constant conflicts throughout your recorded history." "Not constant," Kim protested. "There were peaceful periods. Our records show 14,000 wars in the last 5,000 years." The humans stared at each other. Even they hadn't realized the number was that high. "Most of those were small conflicts," Dr. Choi said weakly. "Small?" Murthakis pulled up more data. "Your American Civil War killed 600,000 beings. Your World War I killed 17 million. World War II killed 75 million. The aliens were no longer speaking in their musical voices. They sounded flat and mechanical like their translation devices. "Those numbers represent individual lives," the jellyfish being said. "Thinking, feeling beings who stopped existing because other thinking beings chose to end them." Lieutenant Commander Bae tried to help. "But we learned from those mistakes. We created international laws, peace treaties, organizations to prevent future wars." "Did they work?" Murthakis asked. The uncomfortable silence stretched on. "Not entirely," Kim admitted, "but they helped reduce the scale of conflicts." "Reduce?" The jellyfish alien's color shifted to a sickly gray. "You still have conflicts?" Dr. Choi pulled out a tablet. "Let me show you some recent data about global peace initiatives." As she scrolled through the information, the aliens watched in growing horror. Even the peace statistics were terrifying to beings who had never known violence. "You have organizations dedicated to counting wars?" Murthakis asked. "And organizations for preventing them," Bae added quickly. "But the prevention organizations exist because the wars continue to happen," the jellyfish alien observed. The logic was undeniable. The humans had no response. Kim tried a different approach. Perhaps you'd like to understand why humans fought. The causes behind conflicts. Yes, Murthakis said. Help us understand. Kim opened another book. Sometimes people fought over territory. Good land for farming or living. Why not share the good land? Because there wasn't enough for everyone. Then why not find new land? They did, but someone else was usually already living there. The aliens exchanged glances that somehow conveyed absolute horror. So they fought the original inhabitants for their land? The jellyfish being asked, sometimes. Or they negotiated. Or they found empty land. How often did they negotiate successfully? Kim flipped through pages of conquest and colonization. Not very often. Dr. Choi tried to steer the conversation toward more positive examples. Humans also fought against oppression, against injustice, to free enslaved people. Enslaved? Murthakis's crystal form went completely dark. Some humans owned other humans? The humans realized they had just made things much worse. That's illegal now, Bay said quickly. We abolished slavery. After fighting wars about it? Yes. So humans had to fight wars to convince other humans that owning people was wrong? The three humans looked at each other helplessly. Lieutenant Commander Bay made one last attempt. Look, we know our history seems violent to you, but we've grown beyond that. Modern humans are peaceful. Define peaceful, the jellyfish alien said. We don't fight wars for territory anymore. We resolve disputes through negotiation. What about your military? Murthakis asked. Our scans detected massive military installations around your planet. The humans froze. They had hoped the aliens wouldn't notice the orbital defense platforms. Those are for defense, Kim said carefully. Defense against what? Potential threats. What potential threats? Kim looked at his colleagues. How do you explain paranoia to beings who had never known danger? We don't know what's out there in the galaxy, he said finally. We prepare for possibilities, such as hostile aliens, natural disasters, unknown dangers. The aliens were quiet for a long time. Finally, Murthakis spoke. You assume that other beings might be hostile? We hope they're not, but we prepare in case they are. You prepared for us? Another long silence. Yes, Kim admitted. Captain Park has ships ready to defend Earth if necessary. The crystal alien's light dimmed to almost nothing. You greet new friends with hidden weapons? We greet unknown quantities with reasonable caution, Dr. Choi said. Do you consider us unknown quantities? You're the first aliens we've ever met, Bay pointed out. Of course you're unknown. The jellyfish alien floated closer to the table. General Kim, Dr. Choi, Commander Bay, do you believe that your species is still capable of warfare? The three humans looked at each other. They could lie, but something told them these aliens would eventually learn the truth anyway. Yes, Kim said quietly. We are still capable of warfare. Would you wage war against us if you felt threatened? Kim met the alien's gaze steadily. We would defend ourselves if we had to, but we would prefer to be friends. The aliens began speaking to each other in their own language. Their tones were urgent and frightened. As the meeting ended, Murthakis made one final statement. We need to report our findings to the Confederation Council. This information will be disturbing to many species. After the aliens left, the three humans sat in silence. Think we scared them? Bay asked. I think we terrified them, Dr. Choi replied. General Kim looked at the books around them, filled with humanity's long history of violence and conflict. They wanted to know about human disagreements. We gave them exactly what they asked for. Should we have lied? No, Kim said firmly. They would have found out eventually. Better they learn from us than discover it on their own. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful city below. Somewhere above them, human warships patrolled the void, ready for threats that might never come. Somewhere in the galaxy, alien races were learning that their new neighbors were the descendants of warriors. I just hope they understand, he said quietly, that being capable of war doesn't mean we want it. Admiral Oh Kyung-soo stood on the bridge of the battleship Incheon, watching the alien inspection team board his vessel. 2 months had passed since the Galactic Confederation learned about human warfare, and now they wanted to see human military capabilities firsthand. The Admiral had orders to be completely honest, but he wondered if honesty was wise. Admiral, the aliens are requesting a tour of our defensive systems, reported Dr. Shin Yu-jin, the planetary defense specialist assigned to the delegation. All of our defensive systems? Oh asked. They specifically mentioned weapons, shields, and tactical capabilities. O sighed. Show them everything. But explain each system carefully. Don't let them think we're threatening them. The alien delegation consisted of 5 species, all looking nervous as they entered the bridge. Their leader was a tall, spider-like creature called HFY. Its 8 eyes constantly moved, scanning for threats that didn't exist. "Welcome aboard the Incheon," Admiral O said formally. "This is one of our newest defensive vessels." "Defensive?" HFY clicked. "Our scans indicate this ship carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon." Engineer Lim Jae-sung, the weapons systems developer, stepped forward. "That's correct. But it's designed to protect, not attack." "Protect against what?" asked another alien, this one resembling a walking tree. "Unknown threats," Dr. Shin replied. "We build our ships to handle any possible danger." The aliens exchanged worried glances as the tour began. The first stop was the tactical center, where human officers monitored space around Earth. "These displays show every object within 50 light-years," explained Lieutenant Park Soo-jin, the tactical officer. "We track anything that moves. Even peaceful vessels?" HFY asked. "Everything. We need to know what's out there." "But why track peaceful vessels?" Park looked confused. "How do we know they're peaceful until we identify them?" The alien delegation huddled together, whispering in their various languages. Their universal translators struggled with concepts like threat assessment and defensive posture. Admiral O led them to the weapons bay. Rows of missile tubes lined the walls, each one capable of destroying a city. "These are our primary defensive weapons," O explained. "Each missile can be programmed for different targets and threat levels." "You program weapons to destroy specific types of targets?" The tree-like alien's leaves turned black. "It's more efficient," Engineer Lim said. "Different threats require different responses." "What types of threats have you programmed for?" HFY asked. Lim consulted his tablet. "Asteroid impacts, hostile vessels, invasion fleets, orbital bombardment platforms, planet killer weapons." Planet killer weapons? The alien delegation stepped back as one. "Such things exist?" "We assume they could exist," O said carefully. "So we prepare defenses." "You prepare to fight weapons that don't exist?" "They don't exist yet," Dr. Shin corrected. "But someone could build them. We want to be ready." The aliens were now clustered together like frightened animals. Admiral O began to realize that showing them human military doctrine might have been a mistake. The tour continued to the ship's manufacturing bay, where automated systems could build replacement parts and ammunition during long deployments. "Your ship can make more weapons while in space?" asked a blob-like alien. "Standard procedure," Lim replied. "Long missions require self-sufficiency." "How long are your missions?" "This ship is designed for 5-year independent operations." 5 years away from your planet? "If necessary. We have ships on longer missions exploring the outer systems." The alien blob quivered. "Exploring for what?" "Resources, habitable worlds, potential threats," Admiral O listed. "Standard reconnaissance. You search for threats actively?" "We search for everything. Threats, opportunities, allies, enemies. Knowledge is survival." HFY's 8 eyes all focused on the Admiral. "You assume you have enemies you haven't met yet?" O paused, realizing how that sounded to peaceful beings. "We hope we don't have enemies, but we prepare in case we do." The next stop was the ship's training facility, where human Marines practiced combat drills. The aliens watched in silent horror as soldiers ran through boarding scenarios, hostage rescues, and defensive formations. "Your crew trains for violence daily?" the tree alien asked. "Combat readiness training," Dr. Shin explained. "It keeps skills sharp." "What skills?" "Weapons handling, tactical thinking, stress management under fire." "Under fire?" "When people are shooting at you." The alien delegation was now moving in a tight group, staying as far from the humans as possible while still following the tour. Ambassador Han Bit-na, who had been quiet during most of the tour, finally spoke up. "Perhaps we should explain human military philosophy. We don't train for war because we want to fight. We train so we never have to fight." "Explain this concept," HFY demanded. "If potential enemies know we can defend ourselves, they're less likely to attack us. But if no one attacks anyone, why do you need defenses?" Han looked at the aliens with something like pity. "Because you can't know that no one will attack. You can only hope they won't." The final stop was the ship's strategic planning center, where human officers developed response scenarios for various threats. The walls were covered with star maps marking potential choke points, resource locations, and strategic positions. These maps show the entire local galactic region, observed the blob alien. Yes, we need to understand the strategic landscape. Strategic for what? Defense, trade, expansion, retreat routes, Engineer Lim listed. Depending on circumstances. Retreat routes? If we need to evacuate human colonies quickly. Vex Harai clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. You plan to abandon your own people? We plan to save them if they're threatened, Admiral O corrected. Sometimes evacuation is the only way to protect civilians. Civilians? The tree alien asked. Non-military humans. People who can't defend themselves. Why can't they defend themselves? Dr. Shin looked puzzled. Because they're not soldiers. They're farmers, teachers, artists, children. But you said all humans receive military training. Basic training, yes. But most humans choose civilian careers. The aliens conferred in rapid musical tones. Finally, Vex Harai spoke again. How many of your people are military? About 2% in active service, O replied. But all humans maintain emergency training. Emergency training for what? Planetary defense. If Earth were threatened, every human could serve as a soldier. The silence that followed was absolute. The aliens stared at the humans like they had just confessed to being demons. Every human is a potential warrior, the blob alien whispered. Every human is a potential protector, Ambassador Han corrected gently. As the inspection tour ended, the alien delegation gathered near their shuttle. Their body language screamed terror and confusion. Admiral O, Vex Harai said formally, we must ask you directly. Does humanity pose a threat to the Galactic Confederation? O considered the question carefully. Humanity poses a threat to anyone who threatens humanity. We are no danger to peaceful beings. But you could be dangerous if you chose to be. Yes, we could be very dangerous. How dangerous? O looked at Dr. Shin, who nodded reluctantly. Our current military could defeat any single species in the Confederation, Shin said quietly. Possibly several species working together. And you built this capability for defense? We built it because we had to assume someone else might build it first, O replied. In our experience, the strong survive and the weak become victims. As the aliens departed, Admiral O heard them talking urgently to their ships. The word emergency came through their translators repeatedly. Dr. Shin joined him at the observation deck. Think we went too far? They asked to see our military capabilities. We showed them. They looked terrified. O nodded grimly. They should be. Not of us, but of what we represent, which is the possibility that the galaxy isn't as safe as they thought. That somewhere out there something might be waiting to hurt them. O looked out at the stars. We're not their enemy, but we're proof that enemies could exist. Engineer Lim approached with a report. Admiral, our communications are intercepting increased alien fleet movements. It looks like the Confederation is mobilizing. Against us? Unclear. But they're definitely scared. Admiral O activated the ship's communication system. All vessels, this is Admiral O. Increase readiness to condition yellow. Maintain defensive postures only. Do not take any action that could be interpreted as aggressive. As the human fleet adjusted its formations, O wondered if they had just made the galaxy a more dangerous place by proving that danger was possible. The aliens were learning that their peaceful existence had been built on the assumption that everyone else was equally peaceful. They were discovering that assumption might be wrong. President Jian In-sung sat in the emergency council chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing alien fleet movements throughout the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the Confederation learned about human military capabilities, and now every species in known space was mobilizing. Fear had spread faster than any disease. Madam President, Fleet Admiral Kwon Soo-min reported, we're detecting massive alien fleet concentrations at 7 strategic points around human space. They're not attacking, but they're definitely containing us. Dr. Ryu Hana, the xenopsychologist who had predicted this crisis, pulled up her analysis. The alien species are terrified. Their entire worldview has been shattered. They've lived for millions of years believing the galaxy was fundamentally safe. And now they know it isn't, President John said grimly, because we exist. The main screen activated. showing an incoming transmission from the Galactic Confederation. The image revealed dozens of alien species gathered in what looked like an emergency session. Many were displaying obvious signs of distress. High Counselor Murthakis spoke first, its crystal form flickering rapidly. President Jian, we request immediate clarification about human intentions. Our intentions remain peaceful, Jian replied calmly. We seek friendship with all species. Yet you possess the capability to destroy us all. We possess the capability to defend ourselves and others. There's a difference. A new alien voice joined the conversation, deep and resonant. I am Ancient Archive Kethmoran, keeper of galactic history. We have made a disturbing discovery. The transmission shifted to show ancient star maps and archaeological data. Dr. Ryu leaned forward, recognizing the significance immediately. These records date back 12 million years, Kethmoran continued. They show our galaxy was once populated by many warrior species like humans. President John felt a chill. What happened to them? They destroyed each other. War after war until only the peaceful species remained. We thought the age of violence had ended forever. Admiral Kwan spoke up. You're saying the current galactic civilization exists because the warrior species went extinct? Precisely. For 12 million years, we have lived in what you might call a post-apocalyptic peace. We evolved in the absence of predators because the predators had eliminated themselves. The implications hit everyone in the room simultaneously. Humanity wasn't just the first violent species to join the Confederation in recent history. They were the first violent species to survive their own nature. Dr. Ryu activated her own displays. This explains everything. Every species we've met evolved on garden worlds with perfect climates and no natural threats. They never developed survival instincts because they never needed them. While humans developed on a death world that forced us to become dangerous to survive, Admiral Kwan added. President Jian turned back to the alien transmission. Ancient Archive, are you saying that warrior species inevitably destroy themselves? Every previous example supports this conclusion. Aggressive species cannot coexist. They fight until none remain. But humans are still here, Dr. Ryu pointed out. We didn't destroy ourselves. Yet, Murthakis said darkly, your species is young. The pattern may still hold. A new voice joined the discussion. It was Vex Harai, the spider-like alien who had inspected human military vessels. We have analyzed human capabilities extensively. They could conquer the entire Confederation within 5 years if they chose to do so. We don't choose to do so, President John said firmly. You say that now. But what about future generations of humans? What guarantee do we have that your species will remain peaceful? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. President John realized that no words would convince beings who had never known violence that humans could be trusted with the power to inflict it. Admiral Kwan stepped forward. You want guarantees? I'll give you one. Humans will fight to protect the innocent. Always. That's what we do. Protect them from what? Murthakis asked. From anything that threatens them. Ancient Archive. Keith Moran's voice grew thoughtful. Admiral, are you suggesting that humanity would serve as guardians? We already are guardians. We guard our own people, our own worlds. We could guard yours too. The alien gathering erupted in musical tones of discussion. Some species seemed intrigued, others terrified. Dr. Ryu pulled President John aside. This could work. The galaxy has been defenseless for millions of years. They've survived through luck and isolation. But someday that luck will run out. What do you mean? Look at the galactic map. The Confederation only occupies a small spiral arm. There are vast regions of unexplored space. If something hostile comes from out there, President Jaeon understood immediately. The peaceful alien species had no way to defend themselves against external threats. They had assumed the galaxy was empty of dangers because their local region was peaceful. She turned back to the transmission. Ancient Archive, have you explored the entire galaxy? Less than 30%. The outer regions remain unknown. And you've never encountered hostile forces from those regions? Not yet. But it's possible they exist? A long pause. Yes, it is possible. Admiral Kwan activated tactical displays showing human deep space monitoring stations. We've already detected several anomalous signals from unexplored regions. Energy signatures that don't match any known natural phenomena. The alien gathering fell silent. You're saying there may be threats out there that we haven't encountered? Vexharai clicked nervously. We're saying the galaxy is a big place. You can't assume it's all friendly just because your neighborhood is peaceful. President Jian made her decision. Galactic Confederation, I propose a new relationship. Humanity will serve as your defensive force. We'll patrol the borders, investigate unknown threats, and protect peaceful species from any dangers we discover. In exchange for what? Murthakis asked suspiciously. Acceptance, friendship, a place in your community. And if we refuse, then you'll face whatever's out there alone. Ancient archive. Keth Moran spoke slowly. President Jian, are you saying that humanity will protect species that fear them? That's exactly what I'm saying. Fear is not hatred. You're afraid of us because you don't understand us. But we understand you perfectly. Your innocence in a dangerous universe. Someone needs to stand between you and that danger. Dr. Ryu added, the warrior species of the past destroyed themselves because they fought each other. Humans survived because we learned when to fight and when not to fight. We learned to protect instead of just conquer. The alien transmission showed continued discussion among the species. Finally, Murthakis spoke again. This proposal requires careful consideration, but we must ask, what proof do we have that humans will honor such an agreement? Admiral Kwan smiled grimly. Because we're already doing it. Our fleets are positioned to defend not just human space, but the approaches to your worlds. If something attacked you tomorrow, we'd fight to protect you whether you asked us to or not. Why? Because that's what we do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. President Jian stood up. The choice is yours, Galactic Confederation. You can try to contain us, you can try to drive us away, or you can accept that the age of innocence is over. The galaxy is not empty. It's not safe. And someday you're going to need friends who know how to fight. The transmission ended with the aliens promising to deliberate. In the silence that followed, Dr. Ryu spoke quietly. Do you think they'll accept? They don't have a choice, Admiral Kwan replied. They just don't know it yet. President Jian looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, human ships were already patrolling the void, watching for threats, preparing for dangers that peaceful beings couldn't imagine. We spent our entire evolution learning to survive, she said. Now maybe we can teach the galaxy what survival means. 6 months later, the first joint human-alien patrol encountered a derelict vessel from the galactic core. The ship's hull was scarred by weapons that no Confederation species had ever seen. Inside, they found evidence of a civilization that had been strip-mined by something that consumed entire worlds. The peaceful species of the Confederation finally understood why the galaxy needed guardians, and humanity finally understood why. They had survived when every other warrior species had perished. They hadn't been meant to conquer the galaxy. They had been meant to protect it. The terrifying truth was that in a universe full of wonders and horrors, someone had to stand watch in the darkness. Someone had to be dangerous enough to face the dangers. Someone had to be human.